Now listen to a business development coach as she talks about how to prepare to give a presentation.
Welcome back to our show. In the last episode, we talked about how to design a PowerPoint presentation with some tips on things to do and not to do. Today, we are talking about giving the actual presentation. That's right, the talking part. This is the part that most people are afraid of. However, if you prepare properly, there is nothing to fear. So, let's share some tips and tricks on the best ways to prepare and present. It should go without saying that the number one thing that should be done when preparing to give a presentation is to rehearse. Yes, you did a practice rehearsal when you designed your PowerPoint. Then you rewrote the parts that didn't flow right. Then you rehearsed again to make sure that everything is the way you want it to be on the PowerPoint. Now, it's time to rehearse again. Rehearse at least 3 more times. Know what you want to say when you want to say it. This cannot be stressed enough. While you're rehearsing, experiment with places where you want to pause for effect. Use some gestures or change your body language. While you're rehearsing, use a timer. When you're asked to give a presentation, ask how long it is expected to be. Normally, presentations should be between 10 and 20 minutes, followed by a Q&A session. The best way to make sure you stay within the time limit is to use a timer when rehearsing. In addition to noting the total amount of time the whole presentation takes, make note of how long you spend on each slide. If you find that you are spending a long time on one slide, consider adding another slide to make the presentation more dynamic. Remember that your visuals help your audience remember the information you are presenting them. Give them more visuals if appropriate. Next, while rehearsing, you may find that you are talking too fast. Talking too fast can distort some of the information you're trying to share. So, slow down. If you consciously slow down during rehearsal, you will remember to slow down during the presentation. Another thing you can do to slow down is to pause from time to time. I don't mean a long, uncomfortable pause. What I mean is to pause for a second and scan the room. Look at the faces of your audience and check that everyone understands the information you are presenting to them. One way to find out if you are talking too fast during rehearsal is to record yourself. By listening to and watching yourself, you will be able to make note of areas that you tend to sound less confident, as well as areas during the presentation when you subconsciously speed up. If you can record yourself with video, pay attention to your body language and gestures. If you see that you are slouching or that you are scratching your head a lot or something similar, you can consciously correct these actions and not repeat them during the actual presentation. During the presentation, you'll want to scan the room from time to time so you don't look like a stiff robot. A good way to do this is to choose 3 or 4 focal points in a room. These can be left, right, and center for 3 points, and left, right, front, and back for 4 points. If you are nervous while talking, keep looking in these different places. It will help relieve your nervousness, and your audience won't be any wiser to the fact that you are nervous. Speaking of not wanting to appear like a robot, it's important to also modulate your voice. Raise and lower your tone. Try to speak naturally. Nothing puts an audience to sleep faster than a presenter who speaks in a monotonal voice. Also, during the presentation, don't be afraid to ask your audience questions. Having a couple questions ready to ask at strategic points during the presentation will go a long way in keeping your audience engaged and relieve you of some nervousness. The thing to be careful about here, however, is to make sure your questions are relevant and will be answered by someone in the audience. So, don't ask rhetorical or difficult questions. Instead, ask questions that will help you transition from one slide to another or from one subtopic to another. Before starting your presentation, you can do a couple of things to help relieve stress and nervousness. First of all, take a couple deep breaths. Fill your lungs with air and slowly exhale. This helps get more oxygen to your brain, which, in turn, helps you focus. Plus, it really is relaxing. Try taking a couple deep breaths now. That feels good, doesn't it? You can also lighten your own mood. Before the presentation, don't sit isolated from the audience. Engage them. Tell little jokes and enjoy some small talk. Laugh and invoke laughter from them. Try to have a good time, unless the presentation is on a very serious topic, of course. During your presentation, it's also very important to read the room. If you are nervous, this can be difficult to do, so try to relax enough to be able to scan your audience to see how they are receiving the information you are giving them. Sometimes, if you are talking over their heads, you can adjust your language and present the same information in a way that is more appropriate for your audience. If you follow the advice I've given you today, your next presentation should go very smoothly. Please feel free to comment or ask questions in the comment section below the post. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about some tips and tricks we can do to help avoid mistakes.